would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things.
Yeah, I wonder why she cares deeply about this fake nonsense. Oh, that's right, because she received almost $1 million from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. Speaking of sociopaths, here is Kirsten Gillibrand saying some incredibly racist nonsense on the Brian Layler show. Brian Layler says Zohran does not support violent jihad. Let's hear what Kirsten Gillibrand, New York senator, had to say.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call and question. I wanted to ask two very pertinent questions about the threats facing the Jewish community, unfortunately, from Zohran Mamdani. There was a bill that I was reading about that, unfortunately, he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical institutions like United Hatzalah and Magan David Adam, which is like the Jewish Red Cross. So how do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected? And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the intifada in 1990s?
Well, the caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad. This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor.
Bro, please fact check in real time. Are you kidding me? What can I fact check? This is just like bile. This is the type of statement you're asking me to fact check. David Duke talking about Jews. Excuse me. Can you please fact check David Duke's statement about Jewish tentacles being all over, the American media and the American government? Like this is the equivalent for Muslims. I'll give you one fact check that's important though. So this person is asking, there was a bill that I was reading about that unfortunately he wants to target synagogues and Jewish institutions which donate to nonprofits, which are medical, right? That's bullshit. That question is bullshit. There is no targeting of Jewish institutions. There is, however, some conversations about institutions that, religious or not, illegally engage in land sales on occupied territory in the West Bank. Institutions that support illegal land sales on illegally occupied territory in the West Bank might lose their funding. Here's a more on point video from Zohran.
Is Zohran Mamdani. I'm the assembly member for the 36th district in Northwest Queens, and I introduced this legislation which is titled Not on Our Dime. And this is legislation that is saying that New York State will no longer subsidize the aiding and abetting of Israeli settlements. And what that means is that right now in New York State, we have organizations masquerading as charities sending tax-free money to the tune of more than $60 million a year to help maintain and expand settlements in Israel. And we know that settlements are illegal under international law. And so what we're saying is, if we know under the Geneva Convention this is illegal, if we know that under U.S. foreign policy we're opposed to settlement expansion and annexation, then why is New York State allowing this to happen on our dime? So what we are doing with this legislation is bringing our state in line with its values. And we're saying no longer are we going to allow war crimes to be financed tax-free through New York State. We're going to end that complicity, and we're going to stand for human rights for Palestinians.
Who would take issue with this? Go ahead. Argue on the actual issues. Don't make up stuff. But you can't. If you're an institution that's like running fundraisers for the Israeli occupying force, or if you're an institution, whether you're a synagogue or a Jewish advocacy group or not, doesn't matter. If you are using that institution to sell homes and sell land in the occupied West Bank directly against existing American law, directly against existing international law, if you're a church or a synagogue, doesn't matter, or a mosque, really, if you're any religious institution that is using, or any institution, any 501c3, you will no longer get tax breaks. It is illegal to do this. And yet these guys are fundraising for West Bank settlers to be armed. They are fundraising for pogroms. They are fundraising for land grabs and illegal land theft and illegal land sales. Of course they're not allowed to do that. Suck my fucking dick. Are you out of your mind? They should be in prison. In a just world, they would go to jail, okay? Not lose their tax break status, not lose their 501c3 status. They would go to jail. You should go to jail, okay? You should be imprisoned. So that's what this first conversation was about. How do we make sure that Jewish institutions are protected from his plans to punish and fine our institutions?
Our institutions, which fundraise these medical nonprofits, which do work both here in the United States and in Israel and other countries in the world. And also, how can we hold Mr. Mamdani accountable for his glorifying association of Hamas and other terror bombings of the intifada in 1990s, where over 1,000 Jewish Israelis were killed, to his...
Yeah, okay. First of all, the first intifada was fought with stones, and a ton more Palestinians were killed. A massive number of Palestinians were deliberately, gravely wounded by design. The second intifada was more violent, and yet, obviously, the asymmetry of casualties did not favor the Palestinian side in that one either.
His revisionist Holocaust knowledge to the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, where Jews were mass exterminated and faced threats. He compared when Jews were killed to when Jews fought back against Nazis. It's quite despicable. I'm sorry.
He compared when Jews were killed, when Jews fought back against Nazis. Quite despicable. I'm sorry. Why? Why is that despicable? Do you just think that you're a special class of person? Do you think that it's different? It is the same. Warsaw Ghetto Intifada, which is just the Arabic translation, is certainly comparable to people breaking out of the open air prison that Israel has designed for them. The only reason why you don't want this one-to-one comparison is because this time you're advocating for the Nazis in that equation. That's it.
Gabe, thank you for your call. There's a lot in there, Senator, some of which may be inaccurate. So I don't know. I can't fact check everything in real time, but do you know any of that to be inaccurate or accurate, including the original premise that he would somehow target synagogues if they were contributing to groups like Hatzalah, ambulance services, in a way that he could hurt?
I do. I already explained the context, just so you know. Now you know what the context is. An investigation by the Israeli newspaper Haaretz found that settlements received $220 million in total from American charities from 2009 to 2013. Americans have donated millions more to settlements, settler militias, and Israeli military units in the Palestinian territory since October 7 through a platform called Israel Gives, according to The Guardian. Can you imagine this kind of fucking nonsense, dude? I cannot. It's so insane. It's so insane.
The caller is exactly the New York constituents that I've spoken to that are alarmed. They are alarmed by past public statements. They are alarmed by past positions, particularly references to global jihad.
You racist piece of shit. Fuck you.
This is a very serious issue because people that glorify the slaughter of Jews create fear in our communities. The global intifada is a statement that means destroy Israel and kill all the Jews. So these are the kinds of things that if Mr. Mamdani is elected our mayor, we'll need to assure all New Yorkers that he will protect all Jews and protect houses of worship and protect funding for not-for-profits that meet the needs of these communities. Those are the things he'll have to do as our mayor.
He would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York.
How is this any different than what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, by the way? This is Charlie Kirk. Am I listening to Charlie Kirk, or am I listening to a supposedly progressive Democratic senator from New York? It's Marjorie Taylor Greene with a New York accent, basically. Yeah, he's going to do pogroms on Jews. He's going to do Kristallnacht. Disgusting.
I would certainly say that he has committed to protecting all Jews in New York as mayor of New York. Do you dispute? Do you doubt that?
Well, one of the issues I did talk to him yesterday was exactly this issue, and he has agreed to work with me on this and to protect all residents. So this is something I care deeply about, and so I will be an advocate on these issues. These are things.
Yeah, I wonder why she cares deeply about this fake nonsense. Oh, that's right, because she received almost $1 million from AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. AIPAC, DMFI, and NORPAC. Just came across a quote from Senator Gillibrand on an article on AIPAC funding. I sometimes forget how dumb she is. At a private AIPAC meeting with the lawmakers last January, mega donors were upset that a few Democrat lawmakers weren't as enthusiastic about the wanton slaughter of Gaza as Gillibrand was. This was her attempt to excuse their insubordination. Addressing widespread calls for a ceasefire, Gillibrand conceded that some of the people calling for one are doing so because they want innocent lives to be protected, and then added, but they may not understand that if you call for a ceasefire, you can't get the hostages back. Moron, racist moron. This is the type of person that's leading this goddamn country, dude. This is the type of leadership in the Democratic Party. Also, think about how psychotic this is, that she had a conversation with Zohran Mamdani. She has heard Zohran Mamdani address these things over and over again, and she still had no, like, she didn't even drop a beat before calling him a terrorist that wants to do global jihad, that wants to kill all Jews. Vile, monstrous piece of shit.
I also, on the federal level, work to get resources for all our religious sites in the state and in the city. I lead the letter for funding for I lead the letter for the funding to protect synagogues and churches and temples and places of worship across our city and state. And these are things that he has assured me in my one conversation, that he will protect everyone. But I understand why people are concerned because of past statements. And so this is just an issue that I will work.
People are concerned. Get the out of here. Here is writer, editor-in-chief Ariel Angel, editor-in-chief of Jewish Currents, says, infuriating. Senator Gillibrand, Jews, in quotes because there's no internal consensus, do not get a monopoly on the meaning of the words that come from the broad history of Palestinian struggle, especially when many understandings are rooted in disinfo, fear-mongering, and ignorance. Senator Gillibrand, your Palestinian American constituents deserve an apology here. Why aren't their feelings, their identity, their history important to you as your Jewish American, as important to you as your Jewish American constituents? This is an incredibly racist assessment that she made here. What is this? I went for a bit. Did you see this? A sitting U.S. congressman, mask off, hood on. Zohran Little Mohammed Mamdani is an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. He needs to be deported, which is why I'm calling for him to be subject to denaturalization proceedings. It is wild how little it took for these guys to basically openly turn into monsters, by the way.
I just feel compelled to say, we can find no evidence that he has supported Hamas or has supported violent jihad, as that caller was asserting. Can you?
Again, Brian, I don't have all the data and information, and I've never sat down with Mr. Mamdani. So I've asked to have that meeting. I'm going to have that meeting. We will talk through all these things. He can tell me his views of the world, and I can learn them firsthand. I think the reference that I had read was global intifada specifically, which has very serious meanings that are violent and destructive. So
which he says, and I pressed him on this on the show on Monday, but which he says are not calls for violence, because intifada is a much broader term involving all kinds of uprisings and resistance and things like that. So I just want to be clear about how at least he defines it. And maybe he needs to be more clear. I don't mean this. I don't mean that. He did say here that he didn't.
He has clarified 1,000,000 times over. If you don't hear it, it's because you don't want to hear it or you don't like the answer. That's what this is. I'm sick and tired of entertaining the racist notions of dumb Americans, dude. Jesus Christ. There is some capitulation that you have to engage in if you want to play ball in a situation like this, okay? If you're a Muslim guy, if you're a Muslim especially, there's so much unchecked, unrestricted Islamophobia, unchecked racism against Muslims. The notion that like every Muslim is a secret jihadi. This piece of shit also posted this with a congressional letterhead. Will a censure come for him? I don't think so. Remember, they censured Rashida Tlaib for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Will they censure Representative Andy Ogles for this? No, of course not. And the Democrats won't push for this either because they're also in the pocket.
I want to be the word police, even as the mayor of New York, if he's elected. But I do also want to be clear that he said he does not support violent intifada. Is that fair?
So, Brian, I didn't hear your exchange with him, but if I was speaking to him directly, I would simply say that is not how the words.
Yeah. The reason why his words are not being perceived that way by you, even though you also apparently talk to him directly, you f***ing animal, is because you're racist. That's it. There's nothing he can say other than Am Israel Chai that will be appropriate and acceptable for you. Sorry, I'm a racist white woman. And I don't even think this is just because she's a racist white woman. I think it's because she's a racist white woman that's gotten $1 million from the Israel lobby. Who is this lady? Kirsten Gillibrand. Kirsten Gillibrand. She's a New York senator.
Are received. And it doesn't matter what meaning you have in your brain. It is not how the word is received. And when you use a word like intifada.
Shut the fuck up. Fuck you. Who the fuck are you? Oh, if you use a word like intifada to many Jewish Americans, you're not even Jewish, by the way. What the fuck are we doing? People who defend Israel literally unironically think they're more Jewish than Jewish people. It's so annoying. Unfortunately, she is not. As much as I wish she was, she is not irrelevant.
Intifada to many Jewish Americans and Jewish New Yorkers, that means you are permissive for violence against Jews. It is a serious word. It is a word that has deep meaning. It has been used for wars across time and violence and destruction and slaughter and murder against the Jews. It is a harmful, hurtful, inappropriate word for anyone who wants to represent a city as diverse as New York City with 8 million people. And I would be very specific in these words, and I would say you may not use them again if you expect.
She does sound like Candace Owens, by the way. Yes. Now I understand why you guys were saying she sounds like Candace Owens. I thought you guys were saying like her words make it seem like because she's so racist, but you actually meant like she literally sounds like Candace Owens, like her voice. And yes, I hear it too.
To represent everyone ever again because they are received as hateful and divisive and harmful. And that's it. So I appreciate that he told you he didn't mean that, and that's great. That's a great place to start.
Also,
but I still don't trust him. I still don't trust him. He's Muslim, Brian. Brian, he's Muslim. Here's the thing. It's cool that Zohran is uncompromising in this position. That's what's making people lose their minds. I have even heard anti-Zionist, non-Zionist Jews say it makes them fearful because of an association they think about with the violent resistance against Western Jews. I think it's bullshit, but it's a more common fear than I thought. How can you convince people to get over that /Jen? It's coming from hysteria. There is not too much you could do. It's the same bullshit around policing language with from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. It's the same exact. Even progressive anti-Zionist or non-Zionist Jews who are like, oh, I'm a two-stater or whatever the right? Like they can still be overcome with hysteria. That's it. It's hysterical. No one is advocating to kill Jews in the Western world on the streets. Like, what the are you talking about? It's because it's a scary Arabic word and its association is with Islam. It's the same principle behind jihad. The word jihad is the same principle behind intifada, scary, ooh. It's the same principle behind when Arab Christians say Allahu Akbar, or like, God is great, God is the greatest. They don't understand that. They go, oh, this is, I've seen this in television, in movies. When they say that, that means that they're going to float themselves. Yeah, exactly. It's not Muslims who say Jews will not replace us, okay? It's Nazis who say that, and they hate Muslims too. Sometimes more than they hate Jews, and sometimes less than they hate Jews, or at least they'll take a sidestep and make it seem like they're pro-Palestine for a brief moment just so they can shit on Jews, but they don't like Muslims either.
He was clarifying that he never said globalize the intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the intifada. And then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to, but that he was never out there saying globalize the intifada. He was asked about other people who used it. So just to be precise about what happened there. Yes.
Well, as a leader of a city as diverse as New York City, with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it. And that's it, period. And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up. And that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had, certainly since October 6th.
Dude. Cloud District, the question you asked me, remember when you said like, oh, well, some Jewish people, even progressive Jews, are like afraid of the word. How can you not understand that this is an anti-genocidal, anti-apartheid slogan, and these motherfuckers either are sincerely or insincerely policing the language, an emancipatory slogan. This is like the most permissible thing you can say. This is the most permissible thing you can do. It is not only First Amendment protected speech, but beyond that, it's not even like an immediate like demand for an immediate call to violence anyway. It is so insincere. It's ridiculous. And it's no different as I had this conversation with my former podcast co-host, who is also a racist, rabid Islamophobic piece of shit now. And I guess he was back then as well, but I didn't realize it. This is no different than white Christian guys who are racist being like, well, when people say Black Lives Matter, it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like you're saying white lives don't matter. Okay, well, you're going to have to put up with that. That's my assessment of this as well. The idea that like there is a genocide happening and that we have to literally factor in the feelings of people who are in support of that genocide and other people who have been whipped up into a frenzied panic by other people who are, again, in support of this genocide is not in consideration at all. And the only reason why we're having this back and forth is twofold. One, because Jews are a marginalized demographic, okay? Anti-Semitism is real. That's a real thing that happens. And a lot of people are cynically using this real point of marginalization as a weapon against any sort of emancipatory slogan that demands an end to this bloodshed. And the other reason why we're even having this conversation at all is because nobody gives a fuck about Muslims. This is seen as like a Muslim issue. This is not seen as an issue of humanity and inhumanity, but instead this is just like a Muslim thing. So nobody cares. Yeah, Zohran is receiving actual threats against his life, but Democrats would rather make fake accusations of racism and anti-Semitism than defend him. The entire media landscape on the right and even some Democrats are actively talking about how Zohran is a scary Muslim. He's a scary Musliman. Is there a point that it's appropriate to police speech? Like, I personally think globalized intifada is a perfectly acceptable, but something like go back to Poland is racist, and people shouldn't say that. I don't know if that's inconsistent. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Yes, in a massive movement, there's gonna be people that say like in the Black Lives Matter rallies. I'm sure there were plenty of people who were saying, things about white people or things about cops that you might not agree with. That doesn't take away from the overall message. The overall message is not about killing cops and killing white people in the streets. The overall message for Black Lives Matter was about police brutality disproportionately targeting black communities and black people. Any type of hyper focus on edge cases such as this one, like, oh, this person came out with a red triangle, or oh, this person said, kill Zionists or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, that person is out there, okay? They're beyond the point of what the actual protest is. Any moment spent on that kind of is a moment where you're just on your own cause. So if you're a real one, if you actually care about Palestinian emancipation, then you got to shut the fuck up and not even allow that sort of to pollute the overarching point, because people are cynically trying to use that against the cause. Yeah, I was pro-civil rights movement until I found out that there was one guy at one of the marches that kill Whitey. Now I'm not so sure. Exactly. You shame bad actors. You don't try to actively police language. Shatters. If you have issues, you isolate people and excise them from the movement by not engaging and not trying to railroad lunatics into doing what is best. Exactly. Like Sneeko apparently went to the Zohran celebration. And you know what they did? They kicked him out. They asked him to leave. They got him to leave. It's that simple. That's what you're supposed to do. Does Sneeko represent the mobilization behind Zohran? He's a Holocaust denier. Does he? No, of course not.
How many times would you need to load that up? How much gas would it need to take? How do you get them all in there? How do the guards not get gas while they're putting them in there?
If you do not center the feelings of racist, white supremacist white people and how they feel about an emancipatory slogan like Black Lives Matter, then stop centering the feelings of ethno-religious supremacists when you're talking about emancipatory slogans that pertain to Palestinian emancipation. It's fucking insane. If you are pro-Palestine and you come to a person like myself, or you go to a person like Zohran and you ask them, what do you mean by this? What do people mean by this when they say globalize the intifada? Because as a Jew, I'm scared when I hear this, because I think this means like kill Jews. Okay, this is what I've been taught. This is what I've learned. And if you don't listen to someone like myself or someone like Zohran or someone who is pro-Palestinian emancipation, and you don't take their word for it, then that means you don't trust us. That means you don't think I can ever be capable of saying something that is not anti-Semitic, that you have perceived as anti-Semitic. It's that simple. There's still a bunch of resilient particles of Islamophobia that is still in your mind in this process. So at a certain point, I will always have that conversation with someone, okay, that earnestly is asking me. But if they just keep saying over and over again, well, I'm still scared, you shouldn't use it, then f off. Do you see what I mean? The greatest example of this is Norm Finkelstein, who was an immensely stubborn person, very proud person. And he thinks that from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is a slogan that does unintentionally scare Jewish people. But Norm Finkelstein will never stand in opposition of people saying that. That is his own assessment. He's like, I don't care about this. I don't care about this. This doesn't harm me at all. But I know that there are other like-minded Jews that get fearful of this, right? That are fearful of this kind of statement. And he uses that as a warning. He's like, this is something that like makes people afraid. Okay, this is something that makes people afraid. Something that makes Jews afraid. But ultimately, Norm Finkelstein is never going to stand in opposition to an emancipatory slogan and be like, I'm not going to stand side by side with the Palestinian movement.
I think it's a bad slogan. I know the slogan from the 1960s, the 1970s. It was a bad slogan then, and it's a bad slogan now because it has too much ambiguity. When you say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, obviously a question arises. Okay, what happens to the Jews in that scenario? And some people will say, well, all it's about is everybody being free, but that's not what the slogan says. And I said, just change it, tweak it. From the river to the sea, one person, one vote, Palestinians will be free. And you can't answer that slogan because all you're talking about is equal rights for everyone. And I've encountered resistance. Young people don't like what I'm saying, and I don't really care. My job is not to be, obviously I support the cause, but there's a difference between supporting a cause and being a blind cheerleader. I don't think that's helpful.
It's October 7th. It is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt unsafe. It is why Jewish students have felt that their schools did not have their backs and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended. But when you hear things like intifada, when you hear things like jihad.
Also, Kirsten Gillibrand is not like an honest actor here. She is an AIPAC attack dog. So suck me if you ever take her seriously, okay?
When you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel, period. It's how it's received. And if you talk to any group, you talk to our LGBTQ community, you talk to our Black community, you talk to our Hispanic community, there are words and there are imagery and there are things that are said that they will hear it.
She's like about to cry. Where did the jihad thing even come from? He never even said that ever. I know she made that up and then got mad about this made up thing. Like, there is never a moment where someone unironically uses jihad, like in a sincere way, unless they're Arab and speaking Arabic and talking about their own personal struggle or something. Okay, there's no world where someone says like jihad to imply the thing that like ISIS is doing, right? Like when I say it's white boy summer of jihad, I'm making a joke about the hysterics that are coming from racist-ass right-wingers. It's not meant sincerely. I'm not actually saying time to strap ourselves with IEDs and blow up synagogues. Like, that's psychotic.